Oh, it's me. Let's see. I will just check how it's looking on X. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. See here. Right. All right. Let's see what the chat's saying. Hello. Pablo, John, Alex. Is that the Alex? Hello. Real Eye Trades. Who's that? Hey, here he is. Hello, hello. And Caroline, John. Okay, so Mr. Bax, to use the actual manual TradingView suite of tools, right? So icebergs, stacks, shark food. Yeah, you'd need, among other things, you'd need the premium subscription to TradingView. To use the Signals app, no, because you don't even need TradingView, because you would just get notifications to your device, right? So, hello, Jason. It's been a minute. So, yeah, as you can see, if I go through, yeah, our primary engine now is Lazy Boy version 3.2. And this is based on tick walked data. So it's taking the stack's signals, right? And it's processing them with machine learning and tick walked 1 second tick walked data over 5,000 signals, right? That we've collected live. Yeah. So it's none of this like hypothetical stuff people tend to do. Look how good my strategy performed over the last 5 years, etc. You know, it's actual, real signals walked, right? And so you're going to see some losses, but mostly wins, right? Overall, why? You can see 71.4% win rate over 809 signals, right? So out of those 5,000 odd signals over the last 4 months, right? You're getting a large chunk of those winning, right? And you'll notice here on the panels, we have, let's say this 9:45, at 9:45 my time, though, I think yes, maybe. UTC. Okay, it could well be. No, it's my time. So your local time will be what this is set up for. I could probably have a setting where you can toggle it because I know a lot of us think in New York time, right? So let's just have a look at this short, right? NQ on stacks. Um, you have Asia, uh, late night, London, and New York for NQ. So these are the stacks sessions, right? This one was on the 1 minute chart, right? And it's showing top setup, right? That's related to what you'd see in the, I'll take you through in a moment, the insights page. But top setup, entry 8955 to 8955, and it was Lazy Boy version 3.2 qualified as a B plus setup. Right. We have full documentation on this app too, so it leaves no confusion. And intraday there, that's just the EM range size that was used, right? EM levels are one of the 19 different resources that Stacks use, so that's why that gets used, and it gets added actually as a regime in the machine learning engine too, right? So TP1, TP2. How does this work? It's a pretty um, generic way of um, walking forward, right? Tick walking the outcomes to get arrive at the win of 15.7 points on NQ. It's just a entry TP1 stop to break even, right? So if TP1 happens and you get break even, then it's a TP1 outcome, right? Then let's say TP1 hits and then TP2 hits, well, then it's a TP2 outcome, right? Then there's also these scenarios where TP1 might hit and then it might just hover, price might hover till the end of the session. So that ends up being a TP1 and session end outcome, right? So it'll walk that outcome. If it was more than TP1, then you've got a scenario where TP1 doesn't hit, right? Let's say we get a signal at the end of the session, TP1 doesn't hit, but it doesn't hit the stop either. Well, then it's going to tick walk the outcome in between those prices. So the session ends and it's below TP1, but it's in profit, right? And so that would be the outcome, maybe like a couple of points, right? Or maybe we didn't hit the stop, but we dropped below the entry and the session end outcome is slightly negative, right? So this is the kind of stuff um, that you have to think about because you got to think, how would I trade it? You know, do the stats tell me how I would have traded it in that moment if given those levels, given that entry? Yeah. So yeah, these are B plus. We don't have a B, and it shows in the documentation why, because we dropping B, you get a lot less trades, right? But you also lift the edge and the quality of trades. So see here, scalp, intraday scalp. These are all NQ trades today. Yeah. But then, and yesterday, all NQ, right? So that's an indication that we're not getting high quality GC trades. But then the prior day, so on Monday, we got some GC trades qualified, right? And it was mostly GC that day, it looked like. Yeah. So these are every single signal. Theoretically, you can't take every signal, can you? Right? Because sometimes you're going to get a flurry of intraday scalp. You know, this is two of the same trade, same price, same targets, right? So you wouldn't take both of those. You take one of them maybe, right? And so that's why we have this one trade at a time feature. So you got like a few different types. So you got one trade at a time, so OTT gap 10 minute, right? So it forces a gap of 10 minutes between, you see that? So this arrives and then after 10 minutes it will allow another trade, right? And yeah, so of course it would reduce the number of trades dramatically over the 4 months, right? But it's still net profitable, right? Um, there's another type of way to trade this, and in the ATM lab, I have um, a new type of way to trade, which is scaling in. So, let's say you have a flurry of 5 trades, you might actually take a few of those, but it's weighted on confidence. So the sizing is weighted on confidence, right? Which comes from the machine learning, right? So yeah, that drops it down. So that's a gap, 10 minutes per instrument per direction, right? So you could have a long and a short at the same time if it's one on NQ and one on GC, but you can't have a long and then another long within the 10 minutes. You understand? Um, and then so OTT resolve is allow opposite direction switch, right? So if we get a long and then suddenly we get a short, it will allow the short no matter what. Um, and then OTT resolve block is just allowing the allowing trades after a trade has resolved, right? And those are going to filter down to whatever, right? And so they've all just been shorts, so and the same the same asset. So yeah, you get the gist. Anyway, so that's that. I'll just hop back to the chat again for a moment to see what people say. All right. Hello there, Jabal. This is a bullish stream. I'll just keep it succinct and like to the point. Not too much socializing. So performance. If you saw before, right? If you saw before when we streamed before, when it looked totally different, it's very much the same, but it's based on much more truth, right? Because um, number one, we have like twice, if not 3 times more data points to work with, right? Since we last streamed about it. And so that's a lot more things to pin down what's working, what's not, right? And hence the redesign of Lazy Boy. But here it's all Lazy Boy trades, right? And yeah, maybe you want to only have A's. Yeah. So you would, I can create that as actually it should be like a toggle like on the dashboard. But let's say we only want to see A plus setups, right? Let that load. The maximum drawdown overall was only 180 points, right? So pretty crazy. And so you can see that like pretty much A plus on their own are doing all the heavy lifting. Yeah, because if you just look at A's, wait for it to load, only 437, but it's you might as well take them, but they're not going to do much damage, you know. And then B plus, yeah. But you can see that A plus is just killer. You could just set and forget that and let it do its thing. And then these are it's a breakdown of by signal type. A and B is just it's not A is better than B. It's just a categorization feature from stacks. So they're just different entry types, right? You could probably just call it 1 and 2. Yeah. And so shorts, longs, shorts dominating slightly, right? With similar win rate. And this is always evolving with more signals coming in. So, and we can get like quite a few signals each day, 50 to 80, 40 to 80. By session type, Asia is leading, and you can see we have both GC and NQ, but you can just filter down to either which time frame the signal is based on, right? Time frame. It's not this. I need to switch the order of that. It's not this magic thing I'm saying. I'm just like 1 minute is faster than 5 minutes, isn't it? Right. That's the only thing that's relevant to the system. Um, so yeah, between the 1 to 2 minute mark, that's fast. So that's why you're getting a higher trade count, right? And here's a list of all the 500 trades made by A. Yeah. And you can export those here. Yeah. And so with each section, I'll just I'll check the chat, see if anyone said anything. Yeah, the stats and the stats are tick walked. So I think in the past people would see these wild numbers, and I'm like I didn't believe them myself, even though the stats would tell me to. Like I'd read over it and over it and over it, and not just me, like a lot of us would in the testers group, and I'd be like, like 120% win rate, one point drawdown for 100 years. What? And I'd be like, that can't be right. And go back to like reviewing the data. I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. That's too good, right? And then over time you start to realize that obviously I'm exaggerating a bit just for comedy, but then you start to realize that you need to like do out of sample testing and stuff like this. And that's why suddenly when you go live, uh, things don't seem to work as well, right? And remove all the heuristics, um, tick walk the data, but walk forward style. If you know, in the documentation, it explains all of the terminology. So if anyone doesn't understand this stuff, it will teach you how to how to interpret the app, but also how to interpret um, like the lengths that we've gone through to get things airtight. Um, so yeah, we walking forward is where you basically have an algorithm running across your data, but it has no awareness of future outcomes, only information at the time prior to the signal. So anything prior to the signal. So it's um, as if it's gauging things, decision making at the time of the signal, right? Which is as good or as close as you can get to reality, right? And so all of that stuff ended up making it very clear that the original lazy boy um, mode wasn't. It was profitable, but it had these wild drawdown periods, right? Um, which is funny. And so that's why I left lazy boy there on the chart, like part of the view modes up the top, because I want people to see how far we came. But yeah, anyway, could you show some stats about trade frequency across sessions? Like, yeah, yes, I can. Uh, just hold up. Will EM levels ever go away? No. Hmm. No. No. Okay. Okay. Let me think step by step. So, Alex, um, trade frequency. Yeah, I just added. So, moving on to the next page, I just added. So, insights gives you all of that information, but really, it's not quite set up how I want because I'd like it so you could have a Lazy Boy 3 version 3.2 view, right? Instead, it's got a section, right? So 3.2, right? Um, but I'll just take you through. So if you were to look at all, or maybe you're just an NQ trader, right? So then it's going to load you the what's working. Um, So Asia is strongest for NQ. We probably all noticed that. So these are constantly updating anyway. Um, yeah, 538 trades. Like, what's the strongest? What's the weakest session? London. I think we all noticed that too. Even if you don't trade stack signals, um, I think we noticed London's a bit of a bitch at the moment. It's better to trade Asia or New York. Um, I speak as if I've been trading a lot. I haven't, but we have a group, and because I've been coding, but we have a group, and I hear all about it. Yeah, B setups outperform. Well, yeah, quite considerably. That's if you were to just take every signal unfiltered, right? No OCT, no lazy boy. It just looks at everything, right? Which isn't very relevant to us when we have optimized signals. But if you were to look at literally if you took 5,000 plus signals, these would have been the outcomes. You understand? Um, which isn't so relevant because number one, we can't. Number two, like it's physically impossible unless you hooked it up to a bot, which is possible here. But that's in settings. But still interesting to know that if I had taken every signal. Um, but yeah, those are some of the yeah, and that's the TP1 or 2 combined. So and then it shows every signal. So yeah, I think I'll add that to the list because if we can have it so it had like a whole view that showed us the performance for those trades, right? Um, for Lazy Boy 3.2, right? Because currently it's just like TP1 to plus break even stop runner, like I explained it back on the dashboard, with these outcomes. Yeah, it's not so relevant when you're looking at every signal because we would never take every signal because you're going to get like 5 signals at exact price, exact time sometimes. So, I need to add that to the list. But here we have the actual, you see here, Lazy Boy V 3.2 qualified combos, the last 4 trades because it's got a recency engine in it linked to the so it looks at the recent environment, and we have not your traditional VIX or volatility stuff. We have a slightly more potent daily cron running for Garch, if you know about Garch, um, which is when compared with utilizing, say, VIX or something like that, it's much more effective at gauging the upcoming predicted volatility. But yeah, you see the trade counts, these are all A's and they're all winning. Yeah. And there's a reason for that. There's like it's such a curious thing that ends up happening. And you can see when it is Asia, New York, late night. I mean, it's pretty much across the board. It will just decide whether it wants to take it or not based on the environment. Are we contracting? Are we expanding? But yes, it's curious when you, the obvious thing is like, I want to find periods in the day that work best. Well, turns out that that doesn't really have an edge, right? The edge comes from layering views and perspectives more than anything. Um, that's a very long conversation, though. I don't, I don't really want to get into that. But the main thing is, yes, you can, and actually, I'm looking to expand upon this so that you could have just a button up here that shows you only the mode trades, the trades collected under each mode. Yeah. Because even top combinations right now, these are like sub combos, where it's like a B, you go long in Asia, scalp on the 2 minute. So if you were looking at the actual stacks indicator, this would make sense, right? In TradingView. And over 8 of the last trades, it's 214 points, 75% success. Let's look at something that's a bit beefier. Last 22 trades, still 60% win rate, 165 points. But collectively, so these are always evolving, right? So it will keep to the trends as opposed to being like be long Asia scalp 2 minute is always going to win. Instead it's like, this is starting to lose edge, and I've got a new recency engine in. So in the past, it would hold on to a top combination, right? Until that became a losing combination, whereas now it tracks it much more regularly, and they'll fall off the bandwagon faster, right? Which is cool. And yeah, when to trade, you can see across. There's a clear trend here, right? So 200 trades, losing 2,000 points, right? And that's three. You can see that's in ET. So New York, 3 a.m. Don't trade it. Any of the red panels. So midnight to 2 a.m. Skips 3 to 5 a.m. 6 a.m. is good, which makes sense, you know. And then skip 7 to 8. Yeah, yeah. Well, 8:20 new. If we're looking at this is just for NQ, right? So it'll be different for GC. Let's look. There you go. So yeah, it's taken a long time to even just get things to do what they're supposed to do in this app even. So you can see 10 a.m. very profitable. 391T, that's trades. So almost 400 trades, and you've grossed like 1,000 points. You forget about win rate when you realize that uh, all of the app derived levels, such as stop and targets, yeah, are they're weighted towards positive R expectancy. So that means you're always targeting more than you are. So is it even 50% win rate if you weight it against R? Right? No, it's not. Um, and that's where EV comes in, right? Expected value. Yeah. So you might even have something that's like 7 a.m., 66% win rate, 125 trades. But what made the most money? Well, this by twice the amount, right? Uh, but that's, of course, that's just looking at every single trade. Yeah. If you took only trades at 10 a.m., for example, and then this is a breakdown by session. Once again, it's sort of irrelevant, but it's curious data. It's looking at 5,000 plus trades. But is it the trades that we would have been taking? No, because we're using the Lazy Boy v3.2 model. So I will update that, um, add it to my notes. If anyone's in the group, just remind me to do that because I'm sure you'd be curious to see that too. I'll go back to the chat quick. Let's see. So how can I get these trades that he's showing? Um, you'd you'd need the evil signals. That it's just EVILSIGNALS.trade. It comes with the premium role when you get the subscription, and you can log in with Discord. Yeah, I mean it's nice to be able to look. It works well if even you're a manual trader, right? And it works well if you are someone who just wants, like I call it, semi-autonomous trader, right? Um, why? Because if you're manual, it's telling you when to pay attention. So you get a notification, long signal, NQ, and then you can go and assess, like, as opposed to doing an analysis, like a deep analysis every day, it would just be like, look at the chart, dude. Well, that's not what the notification says. It's like, long, NQ, lazy boy, targets, you know. And you look at the chart and you have that second filter in yourself as a manual trader. I know because I was one. And I'd be like, I don't want to take this trade because I can see we got very close to this zone or a stack lower that looks more, because I know how to read structure or whatever, more likely to go down there. Or we have shark food levels down there. We didn't sweep them on the way to getting this signal here. I think we're probably going to go down there. And most of the time, you're going to be right in those situations. Number two, the other type of trader is the semi-autonomous, where they're like, do zero analysis and they just take the, let's say, the A plus setups, lazy boy 3.2 setups. They only take those, and they take them with confidence because they're aligned with data, and they will just enter as soon as they get that signal, and then set up the take profit and stop, maybe set some alerts up on their chart, you know, um, like that. Yeah. And it's so curious. Let me think. Yeah, so yeah, it's like that pretty much. Or the fully autonomous trader where you go into the webhook territory, which the app is enabled for that. Yeah, webhooks. And so heat intelligence is, it's another view on like how trades performed and what to expect. So, and it has some updating elements here that tell you what everything means in just a simple, focused manner. Hold or fold is saying that most trades, yeah. So 90% of winners will stay within 4.7 points for GC. 4.7 points away from your entry or the against your trade. So it will be like within 5 points of deviating from your entry, so going negative. Those 90% of winners will stay within that. Yeah. And you can see this simulator, but actually it's a chart here. Yeah, there you go. So hold, it's saying hold, hold, and the amount of winners, number of trades, 1200. Hold, hold, hold. Whoa, 3 points. It's caution. Yeah. Which, but it's saying up here 90%, right? So if you want to be in alignment with 90%, you could still go for the 4.7. It says it here anyway. The average winning trade goes 2.51 against you before hitting target. 90% of winners still stay within 5, right? Yeah, and then there's a heat map, P&L points, right? And MAE points, so points against you. So you can see winners tend to run and they don't drop in points very much. Yeah, which you'd expect. Uh, this this chart reminds me of you see this green guy on the far right. It's like the guy she told you not to worry about, and that's just like off the charts testosterone. I don't know why. It just reminds me of that thing that goes around on X sometimes. Goes to show you what I'm looking at. All right. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, and then don't be scared of the red. It's just showing the average heat on winning trades only. So actually, these are all winners, and the average deviation or negative move against the favorable move per signal type per session. It's all just curious stuff, and you can look through this and find edges and whatnot. It's like with heat in insights, it shows you profitable times of the day. I'd say that pops out as the most interesting thing, right? Is this per asset, right? It does. It does look interesting, but it would be better if it was directly related to the signals we're taking. So Lazy Boy V3.2. Okay, so MFE lab. And so this is like, it's kind of a bit like give back, right? Because losing trades climbed X distance in your favor before reversing, right? So you can see from just looking at, you can look at all of that stuff, but this is the headline, right? What all of that is showing you. It's saying that losing trades didn't move very far in your favor for GC, yeah, before failing. What does that tell us? What we know already, which is you should cut losers before they become a problem, right? Yeah. Anyway, give back. So once again, the tagline. So for each canonical outcome, basically that's tick walked, true tick walked outcomes. Average peak of the trade reached versus average P&L captured versus average give back. Okay, so This is a bit different because it's like the peak of the trade, yeah, on average, and what we tend to then lose by the end of the session most of the time. That would be right, um, where price just sort of wanders after you've hit take profit one or two. Yeah. So what's that going to tell you? It's going to tell you if we reach a peak, an average peak, take profit. Just cut the trade. Yeah, because most of the time you're going to end up giving back 8 points. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Stop before TP1, so loss, right? It could move 8 points in your favor. Yeah, and you'll still lose at the end of the day if you're going to ride it back to your stop. And this is GC. 8.36 points on GC is good money, right? It's good money. So yeah, that's another curious thing. That's just something like whilst you're, it's good to have like things to read whilst you're waiting for trades to finish. But yeah, and then we have a daily email, right? Which gives you a summary, which isn't updated yet. I need to have it being fed with our lazy boy trade info and whatnot. But it's cool. It kind of summarizes what's working currently. Just gives you a chart with like a synopsis, which updates each day. And you can have your webhooks sending to, so I've got it sending to our Discord, but you can have a raw JSON payload so that some members might automate, right? But yeah, it's like 1/10 of what ATM Lab will do because you just log in with ATM Lab with your broker and it does the rest. And yeah, here you can see choose between your signal source. So either Lazy Boy or the V5G machine learning engine. This needs to be retrained. So I need to work on that next, but 3.2 should be working. So stay with that. And these are for this setting section is like for notifications and for webhook forwarding. So you're selecting these here because so I got 3.2 on for gold and NASDAQ. You can choose to have one trade at a time. I need to have that overflowing here. But it depends how zoomed in you are, I think. Yeah, so that's all right, but okay, I'll fix that. Yeah, so one trade at a time, which would be sensible for anyone who's trying to trade, have one position open at a time and not looking to scale in, right? So that's for notifications, right? That's for your webhook, which could go to an executor off board, right? And then the grades, so you can choose to only have A plus coming into the app or via webhook. So the webhook and the app is separated, separate feeds. And then if you want, you can only have this on or that on at a time. And if you've got V5G, these are the settings for the ML V5G, right? YG, because A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's the G revision. Yeah. And so you can choose to have only 84% win rate, 0.6 threshold, right? But it's going to be much fewer trades. There's like a trade-off point where you have Many more trades, but less quality. Actually, I think 5.5 was pretty good overall, but I need to retrain it because now we have 5,000 signals, right? So Timax basically showing you like mild lifts across time frames. If you block them out, and so that will block the notifications. And then the privacy policy terms, it's got us covered. Yeah. Yeah. Have we had anything come through? Nothing since. Yeah, so Railway, the server went down overnight. And so, because I'm an absolute psychopath, I woke up and I'm like, I got to fix this. Because otherwise I'm going to wake up to questions. What's going on? Um, so yeah, spent a few hours fixing it, then brought Railway back online. But we have a second server as well as a fallback, but I haven't had the opportunity to see if that fallback worked. But because of today, I can see how we can make it work in future. I just need to get some other stuff, some other systems going so it can. Yeah. Anyway, if anyone has any questions, otherwise, 46 minutes, that's enough. Um, yeah. Thank you for coming and listening to me. It's been a lot of work, all of this, and still the job is never over. And I have a lot more things that I want to get done. I even have, let me write it down. Let's see. It was that. Yeah, it's coming together, man. Been non-stop. I've been non-stop for, I don't even remember the last time I had a day off. So work Monday to Sunday. I'm not exaggerating. So so you mostly trade ES. Oh, and William, our CTO, can you drop, or if you look at the X page, there's a code for a small discount. We're not one of these. We're not in the market to like give these stupid, crazy discounts because it's a lot of work that goes into this, and the infrastructure is not cheap. So yeah, it's not really like it would cheapen the product if we were going to be doing some like silly discounts to bring people in. I think that just shows a bit of lack of belief in what you do, and we want this to thrive and keep going. So yeah. Anyway, so small question: you mostly trade ES. Um, so ES you can trade with. Okay, two things. ES you can trade with icebergs, um, with shark food, with whale map, and ML15. But can you trade stacks with signals? No, you can only trade those with NQ and GC. Now, I don't really like to talk about this too much because we're not at a point where we can even show people yet. but we are working on our own charting platform, right? And you can bet if we can do this stuff with TradingView resources, you can imagine what we have planned for our own charting platform. Similar brutalist style aesthetics, and tick derived data feeds. So basically, TradingView on acid, you know. But yeah, so yeah, but you can trade manual tools and they are very effective. Some people just literally subscribe for the TradingView tools, and I can't blame them, because if I was manually trading every day and I had time to do that, these days I'm too busy, I would be trading those too, and they were designed to trade manually. So yes, you can with ES, but you would need to accept that you can't use stacks in TradingView for ES because it's NQ or GC specific, and that's the way it is for now. But with the new charting platform, we will be having stacks for many different assets, up to 14 different assets. So yeah, that's that. I should write this note down. So for the insights page, yeah. So for insights, make, so basically just make an MLB v3.2 mode for insights. And so when you click that, it shows all the stats for optimal combos, sessions, timing, just for LBV 3.2 per trading pair. Yeah, per pair. All right, cool. Yeah, TradingView is a bit of a pain. Why? Well, this is a funny story, because it's like, why Signals app? Well, it solved a problem, right? So often we're doing things because it's not like just trying to be cool or something, right? It's literally, I'm not going to put effort into something that's very difficult to do unless I'm like, okay, we have a problem and it keeps happening. And that problem was, no matter how many times I tried to revise the statistics engine in Stacks inside TradingView, it would spit out wrong information. And I started to realize that after months of just trying to fix something that's unfixable, right? I'm like, okay, we're going to have to take this into our own hands. I'm like, okay, well, all we need is the signals, right? And we need to collect that data I'm thinking very small at that time. I'm like, just for a couple of weeks, and then we'll start to get some sort of uh, useful information about expected distances to travel after getting signals, how many times it loses, trade counts, all of this stuff, expected value, and all that. I'm like, so if I just start now, it will start to be useful eventually, and we'll have our own stats that we're collecting, right? And we won't have to rely on like, oh, this said it was going to be a good trade, but it was really bad, And why are the stops and the targets so far away for this specific trade? I'm like, yeah, I can't really, like, we've got an 100-point TP1 and a 300-point stop. that's not going to work. No. Hmm. you know, and so yeah, and the alerts would file weird and stuff. So eventually, I'm like, okay, we'll just make it the signals, the alerts, and we'll do all the processing off board. And then it became this whole journey. And then from there, I always said we're not going to do automation because it sounds like a legally a legally risky thing in the trading space. But I figured out a way we can do it where the responsibility is on the user, right? So just the way you word things makes a big difference, and also whether you're meeting the terms of prop firms, right? So yeah, Signals app is very very dependent on if people are automating with the Signals app, which you can do, but I'm not hand holding that process. Um, then it's very much reliant on the user's choice of executor, which they'd either have to build themselves or they'd have to figure out a way to do that. And then ATM lab. So it creates this variable where you don't get seen, right? Because everyone's looking to be trading a different thing. And then ATM lab is different because it's much more directly controlling whatever, right? But once again, with that, there's variables, and I'm not going to go into that in detail, but it's as close to airtight as you can get. So let's see. Bullish on future code, bullish on evil. The only man I would trust to build an automated strategy is this guy. Well, it's like I have total belief that we're at a point where we can say we did that, right? Um, yeah, yeah. It's very very hard to do, and so do I feel like there's competition out there? No, I don't worry about competition, and you can understand um, why there isn't an automated trading app out there for prop firms or whatever. Uh, I don't mean like yeah, well, it's because it's almost impossible to do. Close. It's not impossible. It's just very close to impossible, right? So yeah, why? Because it takes like first you have to have quality signals. Then you have to know how to process those signals, and arguably knowing how to process signals is the hardest part, which I'm sure most people would give up during that process. So yeah, would I do it all again? No, no. I'm pleased. I'm pleased we are here today, and I don't have to do all of that again. Thank you, God. But yeah, like I get asked regularly when's ATM coming out. I can't say specifically, but we are not that far away. So yeah, but I'm not going to be handing it away for like it's going to be very competitively priced, but it's not going to be like it's automating your trading, right? It means you can go to sleep and wake up, and you would have most of the time made money. Yes. Um, so yeah, but it's not gonna. I'm not gonna price everyone out, of course. It'll be sensibly priced. That's all. Thank you for the bullish candle. Did it pump? See, I'm not even looking at charts. Let's have a look. All right. Anyway, now that 45 minutes turned to an hour, I think that's perfect timing. Thank you for joining me, us, And yeah, the next time I stream, it will probably be for the ATM lab release. So yeah, I'll get back to the lab. All right, guys. Thank you very much.